And it's the 21st day of the 12th month of the year 2021. Welcome to the polls. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle on your digital terrestrial TV, because we're free to air on DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 144. We are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. This afternoon, First Deputy Speaker describes as exhibition of ignorance, claims he cannot vote whilst presiding, insisting he will continue to exercise his right to vote whether in the chair or otherwise.
You leave the seat. Are you still presiding? And why can't I leave the seat?
There's been conflicting interpretations of the provision. We'll hear from a constitutional lawyer and an expert in parliamentary business as the House adjourns until January 18 without closure on the e-levy. Also this afternoon, as deliberations on the e-levy is put on hold in Parliament, we ask, what does this mean for government business? We'll be finding out the economic implications of what has happened shortly. Plus, NDC Communications Officer Sami Jemfi drags Ghana Health Service and airport company to court over mandatory vaccination directive, as he insists the policy has no enforceable basis in law. We have details for you. Plus, a warning from the WHO for countries to halt the celebration of Christmas to avert a possible fourth wave. There's a conversation on new strategies as the spread of the new Omicron variant finds its way into our communities. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities, Dignilu, affordable, safe sanitation. We are also streaming live on YouTube and all our social media handles at JoyNews on TV. Tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is @Danana Aisha. Please stay for details.
Hello, my name is Nathaniel Atto. You can catch up with all the fun and inspiration on the Joy Sports link here on Joy 99.7 FM, together with all other shows over and over again. It's very simple. All you need to do is go to myjoyonline.com/podcast and relive all of those fun moments over and over again. Joy 99.7 FM, your radio for discerning listeners.
Joy 99.7.
Let's start from Parliament, where heavy security presence characterized today's parliamentary proceedings. Personnel drawn from the Ghana Police Service and the National Security Agency were stationed at vantage points following a brawl in Parliament last night over the e-levy. If you missed out, here's what transpired.
It was a free-for-all brawl by members of Parliament, hands at each other's throats, throwing punches like boxers in the ring and ripping apart each other's shirts. This violent scene is playing out on the Speaker's days as the MPs fight over the Speaker's seat. The night had started with Parliament requiring to vote on whether or not to take the controversial e-levy under a certificate of urgency. But Speaker Alban Babing was nowhere to be found. If he did not return to his chair, then the MPP side will lose one vote, as the first Deputy Speaker, who was presiding, will not have a vote. Here is Deputy Majority Leader Afenyo Market.
We do not know the whereabouts of Mrs. Speaker. It is not for leadership to contact Mrs. Speaker. It is for parliamentary service through the clerk to Parliament. The clerk to Parliament and the clerk at table have indicated that they do not know the whereabouts of Mr. Speaker.
Have they reached out to him?
I'm saying that they say so. That's question of whatever, you may find out from them. But for now, we do not know the whereabouts of Mr. Speaker.
Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak explains to PM Express that the Speaker may have retired for medical reasons.
Let's not pretend that we in this house do not know that Speaker is going through treatment. And definitely, Speaker gets exhausted and will not be able to sit the whole day.
With Speaker Alban Babing absent and the MPP side determined to win the vote to have the e-levy considered under a certificate of urgency, First Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joe Owusu, was forced to preside, but that meant he could not cast a vote, leaving the MPP side one vote short. Without his vote, there will be a tie, and that will kill the motion. It was at this point that Joe Osowusu made the following declaration that triggered a long period of violence on the floor of Parliament.
Honourable members, because we don't have a division room, I'm advised that the agreement is that we will all file out and then the yes will come and they are counted. After that, the noes will come and they are counted. But let me put on record that as soon as I leave the seat, I'm entitled to vote.
Joe Osowusu then got up for his second deputy speaker to take over, fearing that he may be going out to actually cast his ballot. The NDC MPs charged onto the speaker's dais to seize his seat, so the second deputy speaker could not sit down. The MPP side charged back and the two sides clashed, and after a long break, the second deputy speaker returned to make the following announcement.
Honourable members, under the circumstances, we are joining the House for tomorrow, 9 o'clock in the forenoon.
The showdown over the e-levy continues later this morning.
Well, contrary to speculations that the first Deputy Speaker, Jose Wusu, left his seat to take part in yesterday's vote, which led to acrimonious scenes in the chamber, Majority Leader Chairman Sabonsu says that Bekwai MP rather wanted to excuse himself to take his medication because his ill health was so severe that he shook like a leaf.
The person, is it the case that a speaker can't even excuse himself to visit the loo? Is it the case? Was this the case? The man was indisposed. He was shivering. And he went to the clinic. The record is there. So we had to persuade him to come and sit. He was in the chamber and he was shaking like a leaf. We had to go and prevail on him to come and preside. Of course, if he's presiding, giving his own long tenure in Parliament, his own understanding of the rules and procedures in Parliament, we thought that to be able to navigate crisis periods much more with respect to the second Deputy Speaker, much more than the second Deputy Speaker. But it was getting too much for him. So he said he wanted to excuse himself, to take his medication, and then perhaps to come back if he felt okay, or perhaps maybe to sit somewhere.
Just for clarity, so he was excusing himself not to come and engage in the voting that was going on? Is that a clarity?
What if he did? What if he did to take his medication, he came, voting was not over, and he thought that because somebody else was presiding, he could participate in that? What of that? Is that any illegality in that? There's no illegality.
So why did the NDC MPs try to seize the Speaker's seat? MP for Dodo-Diodio Nilante Vanderpoy has been justifying their actions.
Well, in as much as I would say it's unfortunate that such a thing should happen, I think Ghanaians should put the blame on the first Deputy Speaker. Our democracy and our parliamentary practice is at risk if they continue to exhibit such biased attitude. You all remember in this House when their famous rescission of Honorable Babu's decision. Honorable Osowusu then, sitting in, said that he was counting himself among the quorum, but then he knows he has no vote. Today, Osowusu is sitting in the chair and claiming that he still has a vote, even though he's presiding, which is in contravention of the standing orders and the Constitution of this Republic of Ghana. So we said that we will not allow him to vote, because by sitting in the chair and presiding, he has no original vote nor casting vote.
No, by the time he was going to vote, he wasn't going to sit in the chair. He was leaving the chair and handing over the chair to the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament. So technically, he wasn't going to vote.
Parker, when you are presiding and order the division, and the division is ongoing, then you are getting out of the chair to go and exercise your vote. Where have you found this before? Where is this? Where? It's like you presiding a referee saying that, let me just wear the jersey of one team, play, after that I will come and continue as a referee. Have you seen some before? It doesn't make sense anywhere. And that's what we objected to. We are not going to allow Osei-Osu to turn the Constitution and the standing orders around to suit his whims and caprices. It is not right, it's unconstitutional, and it's very, very reprehensible for a Speaker of this House to do what he did.
You are blaming the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament for what happened, but there are those who have said that if you disagree with him, should that lead to violence? I saw you in the midst of the action, fighting your colleagues.
We didn't fight. We were principled in the fact that this man once said that as a first Deputy Speaker, he wasn't a Speaker. It led to confusion. Today, too, he wants to arrogate to himself a vote that by sitting in the chair and presiding, he didn't have.
Should that lead to a fight?
We couldn't have allowed him to do what was wrong. You and I agree that the Constitution that we all have agreed to govern us tells us that we have the right to prevent somebody from obtaining the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. And that's exactly what we did. We're not going to allow Osei-Osu to obtain the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
No, I get a point that you're not going to allow him, but I'm asking a direct question. Should that have led to the fisticuffs we saw, the pushing each other, the exchange of...
It takes two to tango. If the other side, the majority group people, had sat down and also reserved and allowed us to argue our case out, there wouldn't have been scuffle. But they decided to attack our people. They decided to prevent us from making sure we fight for our rights. And that's what led to the confusion. You saw it. They were the people who tried to prevent us from asserting our rights. There was no way any of us could have just gotten up and do what happened.
Do you regret what has happened? Particularly for you, fighting your own colleagues.
We will say that it's unfortunate, it's regrettable, yes. But then it serves a purpose. Sometimes you need to do the wrong thing for the right reason. We need to do that to save our Constitution and our Parliament from being used as a tool to serve somebody's interests, whims, and caprices.
But why are you a violent person, by the way?
I am not.
You're not a violent person?
But did you see anybody there as violent?
I'm just asking a question because Ghanaians who are watching JoyNews this evening are disappointed in members of Parliament.
Why should they be disappointed in members of Parliament? We were fighting for the interests of Ghanaians. We were fighting that we shall not allow such an atrocious levy should be put on the head of Ghanaians. And somebody want to use an unconstitutional means to make sure he pushes this levy through. So between us and those people who are lawless, between us and the people who want to obtain the Constitution of this country, who want to set aside our standing orders and forcefully push through a killer e-levy, which we are resisting, between us and those people who are lawless.
Where is the Speaker of Parliament at the moment, Abang Babi?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Because there's no law in this House or in our standing orders or the Constitution that tells us that when a Speaker is leaving the chair for the first Deputy Speaker to take over, he should announce to the whole House where he's going and what he's going to do.
But this is a crucial document of the 2022 budget. Don't you think the Speaker should have been here to preside over this issue to ensure that there's calm and peace in Parliament?
Was the Speaker here when Osei-Osu rescinded the Speaker's decision? That fateful day, was the Speaker here? Osei-Osu has proven that he doesn't need a Speaker to overturn decisions that the Speaker has taken. So the presence or the absence of the Speaker is immaterial as far as the orders and the Constitution of this country is concerned.
The man at the center of this commotion, the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joseph Osei-Osu, wants the MPs who engaged in the fight on the floor identified and punished.
Yes, what happened last night has left the chamber. Most of the time happened behind me. I see them in the video. But you can identify in the and hold them responsible for their actions, and you lump those together. Nothing will change. Disappointed. This is my fourth term in Parliament. It is only in this 8th Parliament that they have been violent. The first 2 parliaments, I was with the minority. We objected strongly, we made our case strongly, and we never attempted physically to disrupt any proceedings. Never once. The worst we did was to walk out of the chamber. So we should point out who are specifically seeking to disrupt proceedings. And before it gets to that, they show their intention. They're all on camera. So we should point out those specific individuals and call them out. Point the error of our thinking. Nobody should accuse me of misconducting myself in December, because I never do.
Jose Usu insists his role as a presiding member will not stop him from exercising his right to vote on any subject on the floor of Parliament.
The rules they themselves read of that 1193. It said that the person presiding will not have his original vote whilst presiding. So when you leave the seat, are you still presiding? Yesterday, the speaker started until after about an hour and a half. He called me to come and take over from him. I was not feeling very well. So within 1 hour, I also asked the second deputy speaker to take over for me. This is a regular thing we do every day. We change, go back and change. I recall around Christmas, I had gone home. It was around 2 a.m. and I was called. The proceedings are still going on. They need me to come and take over from the current speaker. At that time, was the speaker. So I quickly changed and drove back to Parliament. So changing over is a regular feature in the work of the speaker. At the point when we get to the division, the whole proceedings are a new proceeding, start afresh. And therefore, I can change and then leave the seat for the second deputy speaker after he has voted. And this has become necessary because of our current circumstance. The only advantage the majority has over minority is one vote. Anytime the speaker is not present and one of the two deputy speakers preside, then the majority is disadvantaged. That is what the minority perpetuates. But as long as we can change over, then that advantage is restored. And in my view, and I still hold that view very strongly, that as long as we can change the seat at any time, this should not give us a disadvantage. Otherwise, no proceedings will go on. Why should I come and preside so that I can't take any decision? What is the point?
Let's now understand the provision of the law properly and speak with constitutional lawyer Martin Kwebu. Thanks so much for your time, counsel. First, let me gauge your mood on what transpired in Parliament last night.
Aisha, well, it's not the best at all. It's not the best for our democracy. Yeah, it certainly sends a very bad signal. Okay, because, you know, all along, we have done so well, and we are touted as one of the best in Africa. So, for this brawl to happen again, especially in the context that a similar one had happened on the 6th of January, okay, doesn't leave us in a good position at all. So, we are suddenly eroding the good marks and the good reputation we've built for ourselves. That much, I'm sure we all agree. Except also that, but if you look in history, it appears that, you know, in every institution's development, things like this are bound to happen as long as we remain human. So I had to dig up to find out what has been the case with the UK, the US, and Canada. And as I said, I'm not equalizing, but I found worse precedents. So you hear about the English civil wars, where the parliamentarians overthrew the monarchy, Charles I and his son, Charles II. They killed people. It took some time before finally the monarchy was restored. You go to the US, you hear about the infamous brawl of 1838, February 1838. The same thing, 30 parliamentarians, that's the congressmen, were involved in a fight. And for them, they have about 80 of such fights, 80. So it's no joke.
All right, so that's Martin Kpebu, who is a lawyer. All right, so he's been speaking about what happened in Parliament. If you've been watching since last night, you would see that there was total chaos in Parliament. There was fisticuffs between the minority and majority MPs over the e-levy approval. And Martin Kpebu is back. Martin Kpebu, you were making that point.
Yes, so I was saying that conducting a survey around the world, you'll find that these brawls have happened in almost every parliament, okay? Yes, so as I say, I'm not justifying what happened here, but I'm just saying that, when something untoward happens here, you want to look around and see whether your neighbors have done some, either currently or sometime in the past. And as I said, during the survey, I saw that, in the UK, they killed people, lots of people, and dethroned the monarchy, Charles I. I've shown you what happened in the US, Canada. Canada was even so recent. You see, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in a fiscal confrontation with MPs, then there was a brawl. So it's not the best. Ghanaians have complained, and I'm sure this time round, the Speaker and the members of Parliament will resolve not to let this happen again. Yeah, so and draw a line under it and then move forward.
Now okay, go ahead, Mr. Kpebu.
Yes, and this tells you how obnoxious this e-levy is. You see, this whole thing happening tells you the obnoxious nature of this e-levy. So it's a signal to the executive to go back to the drawing table and do something about it. The intransigent position will not take them far. It won't. So it's about time they realized it and looked for alternatives. And the minority has shown them the way. So let's consider that.
Mr. Kpebu, let's look at the provision of the law. Article 104(1) and 2, for instance, it reads, except as otherwise provided in this constitution, matters in Parliament shall be determined by the votes of the majority of members present and voting, with at least half of all the members of Parliament present, at least the last time we crossed this bridge. Now, 2 says, the Speaker shall have neither an original nor casting vote. The running order of the House, Order 109, provides same. And now the man at the center of affairs insists his role as a presiding member does not stop him from exercising his right to vote on any subject on the floor of Parliament. Your interpretation of what has happened?
Well, what Joe Wise is saying, with due respect, is not tenable. He cannot count himself. He cannot vote. Look, it just won't happen, not under this constitution. If he thinks that is so, sure, he can go to court for an interpretation. If the Supreme Court says so, then we will abide. But until then, the clear reading of Article 104 does not entitle Joe Wise to count himself. Look, in the democracy, the argument they've been banding around that what will the people of Bekwai do doesn't mean that they become disenfranchised. Oh, so if that is so, then what will the people of Sal do? Santro Kofi, Akpafu, Lolobi, and Lipe, they haven't had an MP since this 8th Parliament started, right? So they are not citizens. Aisha, this is not the only time that we will have a functioning democracy, and then it happens that some people don't have their representative voting. No, this is not the only time. It happens. Here again, let's draw comparatives. Look, in the US, that we tout as a good democracy, you see the capital city, Washington, D.C., they have about 700,000 citizens. They have no senator. No senator, 700,000 citizens. And that has been the nature of the system the US runs. So will you say that because Washington, D.C. has no parliamentarian, it means that their democracy is not a democracy? Is that what we are saying? And also, as I mentioned earlier, if we're saying that for one decision that Joe Wise cannot participate in by voting, but he is participating in through moderation and the rest, if that is such a big problem, then it means that to the extent that Santro Kofi, Akpafu, Lipe, and Lolobi are not represented, then it means that our democracy has failed there too. And then it means we've been failing since, 7th January. You say, so that argument that what will the people of Bekwai do is untenable. Look, it's about time we just jettisoned it. It won't go far. Let's just accept that the system we are running, when you take the speaker's seat, you cannot vote. It's as simple as that. It's not targeted at the people of Bekwai. No. Tomorrow it can be the people of Boku. The next day it can be Tamale, and so on and so forth. So it's not as if anybody is out to discriminate against the people of Bekwai. This is the constitution we've chosen for ourselves.
With what we have seen, do you think that provision must be reviewed?
Definitely, as as a nation, as we're going forward, we're seeing problems with it. If we say review, let's be very clear. It's not that we are going to review to say when the speaker sits and he's an MP, he should be counted. No. Our constitution is clear that when you are moderating, when you are in charge of affairs, we don't want you to vote. That is to ensure that you can be a neutral umpire, okay? That is to make sure that you can also perform that role well. So if we say review, it depends on what you want to put in there. But let me be very forthright. If it's to amend that in the event that the person is an MP, that's the deputy is an MP, he should vote, I'm against it. I'm definitely against it.
Now, the approval of the document is on hold. It is obvious we will come back to this once Parliament reconvenes. What should be the way forward? What should guide proceedings on this particular matter going forward?
Yeah, so now they would go and, consult among themselves. Tempers will cool down, and they can sit down, negotiate something among themselves. And I'm sure when they come back, understand, is it 18th of January?
Yes.
Right? So when they come back, we expect that
Martin Kpebu there, he's a constitutional lawyer. Do we have Martin back? Right, Martin Kpebu, please make your point. Hello, counsel. All right, so Martin Kpebu is a constitutional lawyer. He made his point clear. He says there's no ambiguity with the provisions of the law, and he will not agree that that particular provision is reviewed. Now, the minority says until government broadens stakeholders' engagement on the controversial e-levy, it will continue to put up this posture. Its leader, Haruna Idriso, adds the minority is ready for talks to reach a compromise.
But e-levy, we are unresolved, unequivocally, that we will not support it in its current form, character, and nature. And yesterday, I sought to explain to you, ladies and gentlemen of the media, President Nana Addo Dankwa himself and the Minister of Finance do not even understand what they are doing. Ghanaians must be adequately informed that this tax even means 3.75% e-levy. It's not going to be 1%, because currently Vodafone doesn't charge any percent. So if you don't even have, if you say MTN 1%, but 0.25, what about the other telcos? But more importantly, Ghanaians must understand that President Akufo-Addo doesn't understand the tax he's introducing. There is a mark of difference between charges on fees, even levies on fees, and charges and levies on transactions. There is a disjuncture, even appreciating the tax instrument you are introducing. The 0.25 is on fees, not transactions. You are introducing a levy on transactions. In fact, my strongest view, without fear of contradiction, you are going to make MTN richer. This is a windfall for them, because they will just shift away from charging fees, which was limited as thresholds of money. Save the definition of Oslo Wusu as to who a poor person is. I won't pay royalties to her. But at the UN level, you must earn at least $2 a day in order to qualify that you are not below the poverty line. So when we said adjust upwards the threshold, it was to mean that take away the core poor. I mean, can you imagine Momo on pensions, your father's pension, he's paying tax on the transfer, and even more unreasonable about it. You take money from your bank account, you pay 1.7%. You transfer the money into a Momo account, you pay 1.75%. The person transferred the person to a school fees of a son or daughter, he pays 1.75%. So, anyway, what has happened in Parliament is that yesterday, you see, Parliament is not about a majority sitting at a Kumasi MPP conference where the president thinks that he has majority or a majority group. It's about those present in the chamber and voting and exercising that right. He must accept that Ghanaians voted for a hung parliament for him to deepen consultation and to reach out to the other side of the Ghanaian populace who don't want excessive partisanship and the bullying of it. For us, we are happy. We won't be bullied any longer as a minority party.
In Parliament lately, we took to the streets to find out.
And that is the embarrassing aspect of it. Because I know personally that in everything we deal with law. And then, as we said, the dialogue, or we just debate and then come out with substantive issues concerning all these things. And then at the end of the day, they draw a conclusion. So then you also ask, why then did Abambagwin also left his seat? Just to make way for the first deputy speaker to also come. So the minority was having an agenda, and the majority was also thinking that then there's something wrong somewhere.
To the microphone Parliament, because as a woman, first in history,
what they are doing at the Parliament is uncalled for. I used to have so much respect for parliamentarians, but not anymore. It's very disgusting.
Parliament, I mean, who be that since me mama wo me baby asi here to ababi amoto the same thing no me and no share the papa 40 parliament here when you know the bu mine.
This was rather unfortunate. We thought Parliament is supposed to be a place where the citizens will sit down and watch with admiration. So what do we see? What we saw yesterday was very unfortunate. I'm expecting the two parties or the two caucus to sit down together and judge and come out with the best policy that will help the nation. That's all. That is all that we are expecting.
Do they want to kill us? My fridge is spoiled as a result of Dumso, and now e-levy. I have lost respect for parliamentarians.
Yeah, so if they want to vote and they know they will fight, they should go to Bukuma Arena and stop destroying our properties. Because what they are doing is very, very poor. There is no sense in it. Why should a whole MP fighting over e-levy? You are the lawmaker and you are fighting. What do you expect me, the citizen, to do? Do you expect me to obey the rules and regulations in the country? No, I'm going to act more than what you are doing in the Parliament. So they should advise themselves.
We can now bring in Dr. Rashid Ramani, who is Executive Director at the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Doc, I'm grateful for your time and your patience. It's obvious your advice for the consensus building has fallen on deaf ears, as we saw a recap of what we saw on the night of January 8th, something we prayed never to happen again.
Yes, indeed, Aisha. I think it looks like the situation is getting worse by the day. And it looks like both sides have taken a very entrenched position. But for me, I think I would still call for some dialogue and some consensus. You know, at the end of the day, the zero-sum approach that they have on this issue, particularly the e-levy, is not going to take either side anywhere. I think they are better off, and the country is better off with some win-win situation. I mean, win-win is always better than zero sum. Again, the lawyer was earlier making reference to some of the democracies from which we take inspiration. Just yesterday in the US, a senator said that he was not going to back the president's signature bill that was in Congress. Now, the president reached out to that senator. I'm talking about President Biden here, and the senator from West Virginia. He reached out to him and said, let's go and have dinner and tell me what you need me to do in order to accommodate your consent so that I can get my bill passed. In the end, what is likely to happen is that the president might not get all the trillions that he has asked for, but he says, I'm better off getting something than getting nothing. And so when we bring down this home, I think at the end of the day, our country will be better off and our democracy will be better off if we get to a situation where the NDC moves from that zero or nothing, and the MPP moves from the 1.75 or nothing. Let them converge somewhere in the middle, and then let's get this country moving. It is true, e-levy is not a bill that is popular. I mean, I believe if you take your microphone out there, maybe 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 are going to tell you, this is not going to do anybody any good. I mean, in terms of us, the citizenry. But, Parliament concerns itself not only about how the expenditures are incurred and whether they've been done according to the law, but also it concerns itself about how revenues can be generated. I hear the NDC pointing to a number of sources from which government can raise revenue. For instance, the Auditor General's report, all the monies that we lose as a country, and so on and so forth, which is all fine. But for me, they were also in government, and I don't think that during their time, the Auditor Generals did not produce reports that showed that people were embezzling funds and were losing a lot of resources. So I think we need to look at these issues very, very carefully. And at the end of it all, it is good that, Parliament has been adjourned. Hopefully, this will be the time that they will all not go to sleep. Rather, a lot of hard work will need to be done so that by the time they reconvene, at least we'll see some cool heads prevailing in the House. And then maybe we can hopefully see the business of the House thriving again.
Have you hold there, Dr. Rashid Dramani, and bring in Professor Lord Mensah, who is an associate professor at the Finance Department of the University of Ghana Business School. Prof, I'm grateful for your time this afternoon. We have seen what has happened, and it means that the e-levy is on hold. Certainly, this has implications for government business, correct? Prof, kindly unmute for me.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Okay, good. Well, it has economic implications, but it does not mean that management of the economy has been halted, completely. I mean, if we are to play by the numbers, clearly that 6 billion, 7 billion that can be raised from the e-levy, it shouldn't stop government from running. Because if you look at our budget, government's indication of increasing revenue goes beyond the 6 billion. So if for nothing at all, let's meet last year's target without the e-levy. We should be able to run the country, as expected. It's good, to have Parliament going on recess to do a thorough consultations and coming back. I can tell you that we can still run this country, whether e-levy or without e-levy. So I don't see anything strange that will come up to say that because of the e-levy, maybe workers are not going to be paid because of the e-levy. Maybe government might not get the excesses, as expected. Doing things that will satisfy the people necessarily might not come true. So maybe for the meantime, if you're not getting your road fixed or you're not getting something done, maybe you may have to wait, for a while. But to say that the governance and economic administration of this country is going to ground to a halt, I will hold on for now. I think we can run the country.
Indicated that it seeks to generate some amounts from this e-levy, and it says it will help in creating jobs, it will help in infrastructure development and a lot more. And you say government doesn't need this?
Well, I'm not completely saying that government does not need that. If it comes true, most of the policies that government has outlined will be realized. But if it does not come true, then let's assume that we are resetting the country as, last year. Last year we ran the country without e-levy. And so for me, I think we should be fine. We may have to look at extremes, but I don't think this is going to have any extreme impact on economic activities.
Out from you, Dr. Lord Mensah, what other avenues we have available for us to generate revenue to run the country? Let me bring you in, Dr. Rashid Rahman. Is this an indication we will see more of this going forward with the hung parliament that we have now?
Oh, yes, Aisha. I think we said on January 7 that if care was not taken, we were going to be see a parliament that will be gridlocked throughout the entire mandate of the 8th Parliament. And I think, the events around the budget process are a very clear indicator. If we don't get, some dialogue and some consensus, genuine indeed, they have to come to the table and be very, very sincere in the issues on the issues that they are going to negotiate on, and so on. If we don't get that, we are going to spend the rest of the 3 years of the mandate of this 8th Parliament arguing about the role of the deputy speakers, arguing about what constitutes quorum, arguing about who is in the majority, who is in the minority, and so on, and no business of Ghana will be done. Because if you look at even this current meeting that has ended today, I don't think they passed any bill outside of some of the work that they did on the budget, and it was mainly because of all this confusion and so on. I have seen in some parliaments, for reasons such as the ones that we are seeing currently unfold in our parliament, those parliaments were gridlocked and nothing really happened over a 4-5 year period. So for me, I go back to my starting point on January 7, that they all have to carry every day the lessons from the 2020 elections behind their minds each time they deal with each other. This is not the 5th Parliament, this is not the 6th Parliament, and this is not the 7th Parliament. And I think the earlier they keep this in mind at all times, the better. Because otherwise, from some of the utterances that we hear from the minority side, if they say everything is going to be subjected to a vote, I don't see how the majority side can marshal the numbers every day with some of our members of parliament performing executive duties and so on, with the kind of marriage that our constitution has imposed between the executive and the and still have the numbers, because in this particular instance, just one or two makes a very big difference. And Aisha, we can also wake up, with situations where maybe some people from the majority side might be ill and they cannot be in Parliament on a particular day when matters are being discussed and the stakes are high. It will only take dialogue and negotiation for, government business to pass through in instances like this. So the lesson here is it looks like almost lost 1 year. They have done some work, but I believe Ghanaians are not quite satisfied with what has transpired from January to now. They still have 3 more years ahead of them. They can do some catch up, and they can do some serious dialogue and some serious negotiation. And I hope, because people are asking a lot of questions on most of your platforms, where are the wise men of this country? Because all of a sudden, it looks like people are very quiet. We are not. Our country has faced challenges before, but it took the intervention of some respected citizens to get the country back from the brink. So I think the Christmas season and the recess period offers some opportunities for some serious behind the scenes discussions, so that they would come back with some cool heads, not only to discuss the remnants of the 2022 budget, but also the rest of government business in the years ahead.
So, of course, definitely, we have to make headway and move on from here. Definitely on January 18, we will certainly be back here to discuss the matter that has been put on hold. How should both sides approach issues?
Aisha, both sides should go to the table with a spirit of win-win. And win-win here, win-win for our country, Ghana. I think the Ghana agenda is more important than the agenda of the NDC or the agenda of the NPP. Zero-sum approach is not going to cut it. None of them is going to come out of this not bruised. If they take a zero-sum approach, as we are seeing now. You hear the first deputy speaker say, this is embarrassing. They have to find the people who were responsible yesterday and punish them. We were at this before in January when some people were chewing the ballots. What has happened to those people? And we're here when the military walked into Parliament. What has happened? So you see, I think we need to look at these things very, very carefully. And the leadership has a very important role to play in this. Otherwise, like you said, we'll come back on January 18 and then we'll be discussing the same issues.
I'm grateful for your time. Dr. Rashid Rahman is Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Professor Lord Mensah, if you're on, what other avenues are available for government to generate revenue? All right, so we lost Professor Lord Mensah. He will join us back to tell us if there are other avenues government can tap in to generate revenue instead of the e-levy. But we can now touch base with our parliamentary correspondent, Kwesi Parker-Wilson. He's been there throughout the night when the chaos was in Parliament. He's been there this morning. We know the House has adjourned to return on the 18th of January. But what led to the adjournment, especially as there's no closure on the e-levy matter?
The House was involved in some level of chaos and some misunderstanding last night. And according to the majority leader, they need a very civil environment to judge on. They need cool heads to prevail so that going forward, they can look at how to deliberate on the e-levy without any misunderstanding. And as we say, time heals. So by the time they return in January 18, members of the House would have had a better understanding. And again, there would have been a broader consultation so that they carry everybody along. And when the bill is brought before the House, once again, it would be widely accepted by every individual, including the minority. So the whole essence is that let's take a break, let's go consult further, let's engage further, and to ensure that at least we factor all the concerns of the ordinary Kenyan before we put together a bill. And this is, again, is also to ensure that the atmosphere in the House is curtailed. The tension, the rancor, the acrimonious relationship we have at the moment will be settled by the time they return. So essentially, it's to make sure that everything calm is restored to Parliament, and that is why the agenda is secret.
Pakawil Singh is our man, and definitely when they return on January 18, do we know what will be on the table for discussion?
In the key issue on the table for discussion again will be the e-levy. And I must say that this is an integral part of the 2022 budget. You know the projection in terms of the revenue projections that government has made. And so they have factored all of that into their program for the year 2022. So it really will help government business if they take this e-levy away. But however, the concern has been that the 1.75% is too much, it's on the high, reduce it. So this engagement will afford government the opportunity to now look at a reasonable rate, whether it is 1%, whether it's 1.5%, or even 0.05%. That is what will be done. And so when they come back, whatever decision that they take, i.e., the outcome of the consultation, will now be put before the House. And then, obviously, on the D-Day, I'm sure, of course, I mean, the MPP is certain that when they return, the e-levy obviously will be approved by Parliament. And you and I will begin to pay the Momo tax.
Pakawil Singh is our man in Parliament. Thank you for the update. Thankfully, Professor Lord Mensah has joined us back. Prof, I was asking earlier what other alternative is available for government in the event that the e-levy doesn't pass.
Well, Asha, you need to understand that the e-levy is not the ultimate of all revenues. I mean, without the e-levy, we should be able to survive. I mean, the government revenue target was around 100 billion and over. Last year, we did about 70 billion without the e-levy. So that should tell you that we should be able to run this economy. We should be able to generate the necessary resources to run this economy. But then, if you look at the e-levy, what we targeting the usage of this e-levy for is mainly policies that government want to roll out. So we're looking at, I mean, Operation Takeaway Toll Booth. We're looking at infrastructure. We're looking at, things, employment creation, New Start initiative, and all those. These are the things that I believe will stall for some time. But I think those are policies which, deferring for a month or two, will not change that much. I mean, as far as the governance of this country is concerned. So for me, nothing is going to change that much. I mean, government will still have the necessary resources to run this country.
Professor Lord Mensah, I'm grateful for your time. He's an associate professor of finance at the University of Ghana Business School. We're still live on The Pulse, and we're also on all our social media handles on JoyNews on TV. You can tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. We'll take a break. When we return, we'll be talking about COVID-19 and happenings at Ghana's airport. What is the WHO saying, and how are we protecting ourselves as Christmas beacons? Stay with me.
What's up, guys? My name is Sammy Forson, host of the Weekend City Show and Ignition right here on Joy 99.7 FM. Well, anytime you happen to be busy and you miss out on your favorite shows right here on Joy FM, here's what you can do. Log on to myjoyonline.com/podcast. Just go on there and you'll find all your shows on demand 24/7. There you can catch up. Remember, Joy FM remains your radio for discerning listeners.
Joy 99.7.
Welcome back to the Pulse. The World Health Organization has urged people to cancel some of their holiday plans to protect public health as the Omicron variant spreads globally. An event cancelled is better than a life cancelled. That's according to WHO head Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, adding that difficult decisions must be made. A number of countries have acted to try to halt the spread of the variant, including imposing travel bans. In the US, Omicron is now dominant, accounting for 73% of new infections. In Ghana, 3 countries have been banned from coming into the country, or the country members traveling to that country after their recording of the variant. There have been stricter measures by the Ghana Health Service, including compulsory vaccination, which is now being challenged legally. We'll be getting more on the suit against the compulsory vaccination, but first, let's speak with Dr. Michael Owusu, who is a virologist at the KCCR and lecturer at KNUST. Doc, I'm grateful for your time. We are told that cases are rising, and with the festive season in sight, WHO is warning there could be a 4th wave, which could be dangerous. What is the situation right now as we speak?
Yeah, good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to all your listeners. So the situation, as you have mentioned, is the fact that cases are rising, and the cases coming through the airport seem to be having some sort of negative impact on the cases which are also in the community. So initially, we heard the Ghana Health Service mention that the cases at the airports are on the increase. But as we speak now, it looks as if the community cases are also picking up. And mainly because, the protocols have been relaxed. People are not just adhering. So for the few cases that entered through the country to the airport, I think that this has succeeded in permeating through the communities. And we are not talking about imported cases, but we are now worried more about the community cases which are on the rise. And if things continue as they are, this will likely take us to the 4th wave somewhere, possibly in January, where the cases will mainly hit, will rise very high, as we saw in the previous year.
What does this mean? With the latest information that the Omicron spread has taken over at the community level?
Yeah, the Omicron is highly transmissible. It's almost about 60 to 80% more transmissible than the Delta. And if you have studied the viruses, anytime mutations occur, the ones that mutate are much stronger and are able to infect more compared to the previous one. So, Delta was very strong, was able to infect many people, but Omicron is almost much higher, 80% much higher strength than Delta. So what it means is that this is likely to spread very quickly, infect many more people. But one thing we have seemed to realize about Omicron from lab data seem to show that unlike Delta, which is able to infect the lung cells and able to cause a severe disease and possible death, the Omicron is able to infect all right, but it doesn't seem to have the ability to permeate through the lung cells. So it looks as if many people seem to experience moderate illness, few severe cases, but death looks highly improbable. So this is the kind of advantage the Omicron has. But some way, somehow, whether it causes death or severe disease or not, the point is that you are likely to have mild illness, likely to cough, likely to have fever. So within this time, so possibly January and February, there are likely to be more people who will be reporting of flu-like symptoms, and this is likely to suggest that these people might have been infected, and it's likely to be Omicron because of the high transmissibility. Also, couple the fact that we are in the Harmattan season, and this season is more conducive for transmission of respiratory viruses. So, the weather, the dryness, and all this is likely to contribute to increase in cases, which is why we are hoping that people will adhere to the protocol. But it's unfortunate that we seem to be enjoying the Christmas and are in the mood to celebrate more. So my fear is that this may lead to overly, increase in large cases maybe after the Christmas. But if we don't do anything.
That you talk about Christmas, because the WHO is urging countries not to celebrate Christmas. And I'm asking, are we at that point, we here in Ghana, that we can put all planned Christmas activities on hold? Have we reached that stage?
Of course. Once we have started recording community cases, it's irreversible. We can't reverse the community cases. It's going to increase and it's going to hit the peak until the virus gets satisfied before declining again. So once it begins to rise, the best thing is to try to put in measures to slow the spread and to slow the rate of transmission. So some of this could be trying to ensure that activities where large people gather, as much as you can, you prevent this, or you lessen or you put some level of restrictions on this. If all these activities go through like that, then of course, this is going to increase in hundreds of folds, and you're likely to have large cases. So ideally, if we are able to do that, it will help to slow down the spread. But if not, if we are not able to do that, then of course, we should be prepared for a massive fourth wave, which has already started some way, somehow.
But with the compulsory vaccination and the mandatory restriction measures at the airport, for instance, and elsewhere, shouldn't we be okay to go about our normal duties?
Well, you know that this Omicron virus has some leverage in terms of, penetrating even for those who have fully vaccinated. It has that ability because of the mutation that it has. So, once you are vaccinated, you can be infected. But the point is that you may not have severe disease, but you can also transmit. You are also aware that vaccination will have been helpful. If we're able to ramp this up and cover large populations, we can reduce the number of people who have severe disease and possible death. But with the vaccine hesitancy in the system, it seems to be slowing the vaccination rate. And this is a source of worry to many of us, that a vaccination could help us at least reduce the number of severe cases, and people are already fighting off and are hesitant and are not willing to embrace this. Then the effort we are making in cutting down on the severe cases may be difficult. We may have some difficulty in achieving our target. Talking about the airport, the restrictions are good. The testing is good. But you know that if 100 people test positive at the airport, you are likely to have 1 or 2 people escape through the airports. If these people escape into the community and already we are on mask and are willing to embrace and interact with them, it's only a matter of time, and this will just rise and infect everybody. So in as much as we are putting in these measures at the airport, those of us in the community must help to limit and reduce the spread. But if we are also jubilating and interacting and do what we are doing, then of course we are only waiting for this time bomb, which is already here with us. So it's a combination of all these factors that helps to reduce cases. You can't just use 1, 2 to limit and reduce spread. It's a multiple events put together is what results in reduction of cases. But if we are just watching one area without looking at the other areas, then of course we will be putting in effort, but this will not yield much. And the fear is that this may lead us to a potential danger with this fourth wave.
It's obvious that we cannot meet our deadline or our target of vaccinating 20 million people. In fact, the last time we spoke with the Ghana Health Service, it indicated we had only vaccinated a little over 7 million people. Now, you have also mentioned the vaccine hesitancy, a challenge that we've been battling with even before we introduced the mandatory vaccination and the compulsory vaccination. What's the reality with what you know? With regards to our target, is it something that we can meet?
Of course, for this year, it doesn't look like we can meet the target. Simply, next year may be more suitable for us. People initially were excited about the vaccine, were all out going to take it, but then with the hesitancy in the system, it's going to slow this process. So there's a need for more engagement, a need for people to understand, embrace this, and this will take some time. I'm hoping that next year, possibly first quarter of next year, we should be able to cover some more people and to get more people vaccinated. But my fear is that some of the vaccines are likely to expire. This is the challenge. So people don't embrace this and people don't accept and get this run through the system. It will be very unfortunate for government to invest in this huge number of vaccines, and due to our own behavior and hesitancy and all the comments going around, we leave this to expire. I'm not too sure the motivation government will have in getting some additional vaccines when the ones we have are not working. So are not going to be used. So I think we all need to work, encourage people, let people understand that these are safe vaccines. I mean, we've all taken it and we are fine. So if we don't embrace this, then we may live to see some of these vaccines in the system not being used. And this is a cost to all of us, and this may not enable us to achieve our expected herd immunity, which is what we expect.
It's definitely worrying as we are told about the spread of the Omicron in our communities, and you have also spoken about the Harmattan season, which will aid a more transmission of these variants, and the fact that we are heading towards danger, a possible fourth wave if we do not check what is going on. Right now, it is obvious that government is struggling to implement its measures, even though it's achieved some extent of success. But right now, what should be happening with at the government level, at the individual level, especially because we have the festivities ahead of us?
Well, you know, in Ghana, one thing that works is when the leaders begin to take active part in the campaign. And the leaders not just being government, but religious leaders, community leaders, chiefs, market women, transport unions. We should be able to bring all these people together, have ambassadors, even including the media, to advocate for good vaccine administration, to support this campaign, but then to also encourage people to adhere to the protocols and limit gatherings, events, parties, and all that. If we don't bring all these leaders to help us, it may be difficult for other people to understand. So I think at this time, government should begin to relook at some of the earlier measures we took and to bring all the stakeholders on board, being the chiefs, being the churches, religious leaders, the students. Almost all bodies must be involved, have focal leaders, and encourage them to speak to their own people so that they will be able to go along with that, so we don't reach a point where this will become a danger for us.
And at the individual level?
Yeah, at the individual level, we need to encourage people to be able to at least adhere to these protocols. We need to still educate people, help them out to be able to understand the need for them to protect themselves, to save their lives so that they don't put other people's life in danger or their own lives in danger.
Dr. Michael Owusu, I'm grateful for your time. He's a virologist and a researcher at the KCCR. He's also a lecturer at KNUST. So you heard him right. He says that people must be encouraged to actually protect themselves from contracting the virus. We hit the streets of Accra to find out from you, as you prepare to celebrate Christmas, how do you intend to protect yourself? Listen to what people have been saying.
I don't have any plans about the Christmas, understand? Because everywhere is tight. There's no money in the country. So I have nothing to say about the Christmas. Coronavirus issue. Before I attend to someone, I wash my hand properly. And before talking to, even though I'm going home, I used to wear face mask too. So
for this Christmas, there is no money, so I'll be in the house. Yes, I'll be in the house, and I think that will be safer here than me going out to mingle out with people. Yeah. So, as they used to advertise for us to see through the pandemic, we've been putting on the nose mask, washing our hands, using the sanitizer. Yeah.
Okay, this year no money, so preparations, we are just there. Where it's moving, we also try to move there. Okay, this Christmas, actually we are just going by the protocols. That's washing your hands, wearing the mask, and avoid social distance. Hey, yeah, so when you are going to gathering, you just have to be careful where you are. If it's not necessary, don't force yourself to be there.
For the Christmas, I am not really having any plans. Basically, I don't have any plans for Christmas. I'm just thankful for how far I've come. And then for protection, I am adhering to the COVID-19 protocols.
While Communications Officer of the National Democratic Congress, Sami Jemfi, has dragged the Ghana Health Service and the Ghana Airport Company Limited to court over the mandatory vaccination policy. The no vaccination, no entry policy was introduced at the airport last week to prevent unvaccinated travelers from entering Ghana. This, according to the authorities, is a measure of controlling the importation of COVID-19 cases, especially with the new Omicron strain. But Mr. Sami Jemfi, together with 3 other applicants, insist this is unconstitutional. They want the court to overturn the directive. We'll look at some of the reliefs they're seeking, and here you are. It says application for the enforcement of fundamental human rights, or the 6-7 of CI 47. Please take note that this honorable court shall be moved by counsel for and on behalf of the applicants hearing, praying this honorable court for an order of the court granting the following reliefs. And it starts with a declaration that the impugned directive of the respondents breach or threaten to breach the applicant's fundamental human rights as enshrined under Article 21(1)(g) of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. And 2, a declaration that the directives of the respondents violated Section 2(1) of the Imposition of Restrictions Act 2020, Act 1012, and Sections 21, 22, and 30 of the Public Health Act 2012, Act 851, and therefore illegal. C, a declaration that the directives of the respondents contravene the guidelines of the Food and Drugs Authority, Ghana, on the administration of emergency use authorized medical products, and same are unreasonable. And D, a declaration that the directives of the respondents contravene the guidelines of the World Health Organization regarding proof of COVID-19 vaccination for international travelers, and that same is unreasonable. E, a declaration that the directives of the respondents contravene medical ethics and best practices that govern COVID-19 vaccine administration. And F, an order of certiorari to bring before this honorary court the directives of the respondents to be quashed as having been made without any constitutional or legal and or reasonable basis whatsoever. And F, an order of certiorari to bring before this honorable court the directives of the respondents to be quashed as having been made without any constitutional, legal, and or reasonable basis whatsoever. G, an order of prohibition and or injunction directed at the respondents, their agents, and or assigns, restraining them jointly or severally from taking any steps contained in the directives relating to the implementation of compulsory COVID-19 vaccination at Kotoka International Airport, constituting restrictions on the freedom of entry into Ghana of citizens and the freedom of leaving Ghana of all persons. And H, any further consequential orders that the Honorable Court may deem fit. This is the application for the enforcement of fundamental human rights, and it was filed by Sami Jemfi, who is the a communications officer of the National Democratic Congress, and 3 others in court. Managers of mobile money business in Bantama in Kumasi, which was robbed at gunpoint during rush hour in April this year, are pleading with the police to be honest in their investigations. The victims of the robbery, who lost at least 142,000 Ghana cedis, are unhappy with the police handling of the incidents. They claim no one has been arrested, contrary to earlier police announcements of arresting 2 suspects connected to the robbery. Parliamentary of our security desk has more.
Gun-wielding robbers on motorbikes left residents in Kumasi in shock as they brazenly strike at the shop in full public glare on April 21, 2021. The robbers were captured on CCTV packing several bundles of Ghana cedi notes into plastic bags as they took the workers hostage in an operation that lasted less than 5 minutes. The robbery operation happened a few hours after the owner of the shop, Yabwache Dankwa, had withdrawn 241,000 cedis from the bank for the day's transactions.
Agents, omo a chichi, so here physical money, mobile money now. Omo me hona me mabwa physical money no. Ntina makwa ku use scan or Eco Bank. That is 241,000. It is scan 2,410,000,000.
But 2 months after the incident, the police announced the arrest of 2 suspects who were also linked to similar mobile money robbery at Bokrom Estate in June.
We had video footages.
Public Relations Officer for the Ashanti Regional Police Command, ASP Godwin Ahianyo, broke the news to JoyNews in an interview.
Bantama robbery incident and that of Bokrom, they are very similar. So it tells you that it is this very syndicate who perpetrated that crime, because in the CCTV footage, we've identified one person who was involved in the earlier 2 cases. 2 of them have been arrested. We are looking for other persons, and I'm sure we are going to use those 2 to get the others.
The victims of the robbery, however, doubt the arrest, claiming their attempts to see the suspects have proved futile. 6 months after police announced the arrest, Ebenezer Amamu is in charge of operations at Osuani Boachi Ventures.
We were robbed on 21st of April, and now we are in December. The policemen told us that we will come and identify the robbers. That was about 4 months ago. But we are still in December, but nothing has been done about it.
The impact of the robbery on Mr. Amamu and others who were robbed at gunpoint on that fateful day has been adverse. Managers have been forced to reduce the number of working hours, whilst workers continue to live in fear.
The feeling is not a very good one at all, because to be at work doing your thing, and by the time you raise your head, you will see a gun pointing at you, ordering you to pack all your money and give it to someone who haven't even worked for it. It's not a very good feeling at all. It has caused some phobia in me, especially when I'm there and I hear a motorcycle making a noise around. I always think that maybe it might be some of those people who are moving around. And even when you are at work, there is this panic that rises in you. The moment you remember the incident, it causes some fear in you. And not me alone, my other colleagues too. Now, the time we used to close, we have limited it due to the robbery case.
The Ashanti Regional Police Command has dismissed claims by the victims. Command officials say 2 suspects, Hamza Suli and Farouk Ibrahim, are currently standing trial at the Nkari Circuit Court. From Kumasi, for JoyNews, Oiminteria reporting.
We're still live on the Pulse this afternoon. We are streaming live on YouTube. We are on all our social media handles. It's on JoyNews on TV. You can also tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is at Enana Aisha. Let's take a break on The Pulse and bring you the very latest from the world of sports.
Hi, this is Lexus Bill, host of Drive Time on Joy 99.7 FM. Listen, you don't have to worry if you miss Drive Time or Personality Profile. It's going to be live on our podcast page. Just log on to www.myjoyonline.com/podcast. You can listen to Drive Time, Personality Profile, and any other of your favorite shows on Joy FM on that page. You don't have to miss a show at all. Joy 99.7 FM, radio for discerning listeners.
I mean, I think for you, and knowing you, I'm sure the Olympics played in your mind at all.
Yes, it did. But to talk about the Olympics, I mean, it was the biggest stage I've ever gone to.
Yeah.
Aside the World Championship, the World Championship was one that I didn't get the chance to run an individual race. But this time I'm there running an individual race. But as a person representing West Texas A&M, representing Ghana, being a Ghanaian record holder, it brings a lot of pressure. You understand? So getting there, I was nervous. To be honest with you, I was really, really nervous. And to talk about the second fastest human in the world being by you, that's something extra. So, and I don't have the experience just like them. And if you could hear the commentator, he was like, yeah, I've been doing really, really well in the college system, but I have been running all by myself. You understand? So I don't have the experience that these guys have. Do you get it? So at that moment, they beat me to it, like psychologically. Yes, this guy is nervous. So my times and their times, yes, I could have won that race. Yes, if I've run that good, I could have won. But the psychological part
game was big.
Yes,
I was just even thinking about, you know, your the build up to yours. I think in heat 5, you were in heat 7.
Yeah, heat 7.
Yeah, so heat 5. African gets disqualified. Heat 6, African gets disqualified. At that point, you had to break up over your start.
I was watching in there. I was like, damn, another African country got out. Another African country. So what am I supposed to do?
And like,
should I have to take time in the blocks? Like all those things play on my mind. So yeah, it was a big factor.
It was a great experience.
Yeah, but it was a great experience. I got to talk up to a few professional athletes, and it's nothing big. You just have to learn a few things from them and all that. I'm still in touch with them and they're helping me. So I think next year is going to come out good.
Yeah, and the thing that you said about, you know, the experience that these guys have, because obviously because they go for more meets, they see each other more, and you were missing that.
Yeah, you're a new guy. Who are you? You are just running with college guys. We run amongst each other. We know what we can do. We know how to focus on our race. If you watch my race, you knew I was focusing on Blake. I was not focusing on myself. Yes, that amounted to that. That amounted to me running such a time. That was the poorest race I've ever run that season. I get a 10:13. I've not run beyond even 10:07. So it shows you like what I was going through at that time. And also, I sat for 2 months before the Olympics. You know, as a country, you know, other athletes had their country sending them to meet, their association sending them to meet. I didn't have the opportunity. My coaches couldn't enter me into meet. Do you get it? So I felt I lost my race shape and everything. So they all played a role in it. But you know, it's a learning process. And this time I don't have to sit down for the country to send me to meet now. I have to do things by myself. Yes. So yeah, it was a great experience basically.
It's important. It's important. It's going through that and I wouldn't count the number of times he has watched the race over and over again, knowing Azamati and all of that. So you guys stay in touch? I mean, Joe Paul and the rest, you guys stay in touch?
Yeah, we are in touch all the time. Joe usually calls. He's a guy that wants to check about all of us to know whether we are healthy and all that. So yeah, he's the team captain, so of course he has to do that. So, but we are very much in touch, and I think Sean is going to come down to train for World Indoor. So. Yeah, when he comes, I'm going to train him and all that. So yeah, we are all in touch.
It's a big 2022. I mean, for athletics lovers like us, I mean, for everybody, because there's so much to come.
Yeah.
I mean, really so much to come, and I'm sure you're looking at each event with a wicked eye.
Yes, of course. Yeah, having the experience from the Olympic Games, I think next year is really going to be big for me because we have the World Championship in the UK. We have
you got the Commonwealth Games as well.
Yeah, we have the Commonwealth Games in the UK and the World Championship in the US.
Yes.
So take them one by one. Yes, first I have the NCAA season. That is where I have to build myself and everything, and then go into the Commonwealth Games. I have high hopes going into the Commonwealth Games and the World Championship too. All I have to do is stay healthy and then keep on practicing.
Well, good. So, if I put you by the president, what are you going to ask him to do for Ghana Athletics?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of things.
And maybe I want to make it. If I make it, what is he going to do for Ghana Athletics? It will be like taking the job of the GA president. So
that's true.
I want you to tell me what you asked the president to do for our student athletes.
Yes.
You see, because of the gaps and the drops and the fact that there's school to finish, what kind of help do you guys need?
Okay, so with my experience in the US, you know, you are in school for the academic work, yes. So the fact that you're a student athlete and doing sports, the professors or the lecturers have to take into consideration that you would have time to go for practice. So that is what I would do. The sports directorate or the president of the sport has to sit with if it's the dean or I don't know how to term it, but your sports schedule has to be factored into your academic schedule too.
Okay.
that the fact that I have to go to class from 8 to 3, and from 3 I have practice. That means you don't have to pick any class that is beyond 3. Do you get it? That is what they do for me. And you can mix eyes. So far as your coach tells your professors that, hey, I have this event coming up. I'm going for a meet. You understand? So you can miss eyes and you can make up for it. But I think in Ghana here, no, you don't have that. When you miss it, you miss it.
Yeah, in trouble.
And you pay for it. So those things play a role in the athlete's head. I'm going for a meet. I'm leaving my academic work down. You are not even focused at that time. You need everything in the tracks. You need to be focused. But if you have a divided attention, it's not going to go well for you. No. So I think those things have to be considered. Factor the fact that they are sports people into consideration. Put them into their schedule. Let them have time to go for sports. Excuse them to go for meets and all that. And then aside that, yes, I know there's been coaches being sent to do IAF courses and all that. Yes, and then also another thing will be stipends for student athletes, be it national athletes or the student that want to, this is what I want to do. This is the field I've taken. Let's say the school not in section. I want to, practice and all that. Like those things will help them, travel from here A to B. Most of them really don't have the financial needs. You understand? So you give them that, and then it's going to help them. And then one thing is, I've realized this when I was in the University of Ghana. My coach did the track and then also the gym. It doesn't help because he has little knowledge about the gym. So you would think you are improving the athlete, but no, you are not. So there should be like a course for people who want to do strength and conditioning, because back in my school we have the coach for the strength and conditioning is someone who has done his master's. He did specifically in weight. You understand? So if you have such a person here, it's not just about coming here and running. No, you have to build your muscles. If you don't have that, people are going to beat you to that.
It's important you know that, because when I spoke to Coach Steele, he said that when they met you, the one thing they needed to work on immediately was that.
That's it. And look at how fine I am right now. So that was the only thing that was needed. My technique was fine. You can have all that, but if you don't have the strength, no, people are going to beat you all the time. So I feel like there should be a course for also strength and conditioning. Have a gym for national athletes. That when they come, they have a coach that will train them and everything. That is what we lack. So we can do all the runnings, but if we don't have that strength and conditioning, no.
You got it. We're looking forward to that special year. I mean, but aside all the athletics and all of that, you've been whiling away time a bit. You're a Barcelona fan. It's brought a lot of grief to you, hasn't it?
I don't want to talk about Barcelona.
Yeah, but there have you decided to leave the club? Are you on loan? Do you want a club to take you on loan? Just available if you want to.
I'm a PSG fan, so
so now you're PSG.
Yeah, I'm just watching PSG for some time because of Messi. So but then I've not left Barcelona.
But difficult times for Barcelona.
Yes, it's really difficult times. We can't even win a game. Like it's very bad.
And then Barcelona in the Europa.
Yeah, we will come back. Now we just have kids in the game. So it's gradual. And step by step.
And how have you been feeling and feeding into the Black Stars, in action, all of that with the South Africa? Have you been watching the Black Stars?
Yes, I do. I watch them. Yeah, I've been watching their games and everything. I think they are doing really, really well. They've qualified for
they are now the final phase.
Yeah, they have to play the playoffs to get it. So I think they are doing really, really well. And having the coach back, I think
everything is working. And you follow the Presbyterian Boys Secondary School, the National Science and Maths quiz,
yes,
I guess.
Of course. The boys did well, but
in fact, when I watched the Formula One, I'm like, oh wow, this one looks like the Presec Prempeh thing. Like Presec were almost winning, and Prempeh took it away. Just
we still have 6, so
you're
we
good.
are still the reigning champions. We have 6.
There's always blue pride somewhere in the pockets.
Exactly.
No matter how you do it. So, Machi, thank you very much for your time. But what will be your final words to those who followed you heavily? I mean, tweeting, following your tweets, following everything as Amati, and of course, following the whole quartet. Just all of you. What you got to tell them?
Yeah. So I've got people asking me when are you competing and everything. The indoor season starts next year, and I'll be competing somewhere around the end of January. And of course, I feel next season is really going to be a good season for me. Looking at the experiences I've gathered so far this year, I think taking those experiences into the next season will be something that will be very, very good for me. So yes, this is not my best season yet. There's more to come from Azamati. And I want to say a very big thank you to all my fans, people that, always call to check up on me and, pray for me and all that. And also I have words for young and upcoming athletes, to not give up on their dreams, but to be disciplined, determined and dedicated to whatever that they are doing. If you are not focused, you aren't going to get to the level where you want to be. So, but of course you have to also take your academics seriously, because academics took me to where I am now. So you have to combine both and then do well. Never question greatness.
Yeah, never question greatness. That's Azamati for you. Yeah, he still holds a record for 100 meters, and we all saw him do it in style, 9.97 seconds, and he had a fantastic season. Now you want to go on to my Joy Online and go and check out. You should check out that little piece I did, Azamati, the latest race car, ripping all the records out there in town. And with that, you can have a whole catalog of exactly what he did in, back in college. He did so well in school as well. Fantastic one. Thank you very much, Azamati, for your time once again. I wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching.
And as you see on your screens, is being supported by the Media Foundation for West Africa and also with funding support from the European Union. Before we go, let's check out our COVID situation in the country. New cases now stand at 156, active cases at 1,301, confirmed cases at 1,332, 132,288, recoveries now at 129,728, deaths over 1,000 is at 1,255. And if you look in that map, you would see those big red circles. It's Greater Accra is still leading the chart and followed closely by the Ashanti region. And that's where we draw the curtains this afternoon. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching. Let's Talk Showbiz. It's happiness. Enjoy the rest of our programs.
Hello, my name is Evans Mensah, and you can relive all the fun and excitement on Top Story, Newsnight, and of course, Ghana Connect via podcast. All you need to do is to log on to my Joy Online/podcast. Search for your favorite show and relive the moment. Joy 99.7 FM, your radio for discerning listeners.
Joy 99.7.
Debonair Africa has partnered with Ghana's leading international design departmental store Numero Uno to present Dot Trade and Numero Uno Holiday Fashion Pop-Up Fair at the Marina Mall. The 4-day holiday fashion pop-up fair will start on the 19th and on the 22nd of December and has designers like...
Because it's as you can see from we are locally produced by local fashion designers. It has to be a Ghanaian talent because you are pushing the young talent in Ghana, and your brand has to have some nature of originality and sustainability. These are what we look out for, because these two elements is the future of fashion.
So at least now you understand the collaboration between Dot Trade and Numero Uno here at the Marina Mall, right? It is just so to make our collection, especially the Ghanaian brand, the Ghanaian talent, put it out there. So it's locally manufactured or locally produced design for global consumption. And that is what happened over here. A lot of designers inside there. And for the rest of the 3 days, that is from today till the 22nd, you can have everything produced by Ghanaian for Ghanaians to the globe. And that is it. Dot Trade together with Numero Uno, this is what you get.
Recently, you were not very excited about something Ghana Web posted. I think they wrote something about you, and just as you mentioned, you clapped back.
Yeah. I think they must have also picked it up from the platform that I went on the interview, and then they shared it. So whoever wrote that caption and that story on that platform wasn't fair to me, because I didn't make those utterances, I didn't make those claims. So then they moved it from something I said to something totally different, and I wasn't too happy about it. So I think Ghana Web changed their caption quickly.
Oh, they corrected the anomaly.
They corrected it to what I meant to have said. So I'm here to maybe get that media house to take down that write-up and maybe do something about it.
Well, you're I'm looking at it right now. So Stonebwoy, Kofi Kinata, and Kaki owe their success in music too. I was about to ask
excuse my language.
Why you used because you used
my language.
I'm highly disappointed in you for this foolish caption.
Yes.
And I was about to ask you whether you withdrew it, but just as I was about to ask,
yeah, because I meant what I said to who wrote that. How can I sit on radio and say that X, Y, Z owe their success to me? I'm not God. I didn't create even what I am doing. I have no idea how I'm able to do it. All I did was give people my platform, and they came, saw, and conquered. Proved that they are worth it for people to love them. I can't force people to love someone. So how are you able to take something I say on your platform and then use your own language and create something new to go and put it out there and say that's what I said? There was no, you can't even quote me if you listen to the entire interview where I used "oh success to," I mean, all those words in the thing he wrote were not part of my utterances whatsoever throughout the conversation.
You said you vowed to deal with Kevin Taylor for what?
Yeah, I mean, for saying things about me that had no facts or basis whatsoever. He was, I think he was on a rant about artists that would support a political party or the other. And he went on to talk about me, and the background that he gave about me was not accurate. And it was more demeaning and insulting than just describing who I am. You know, and then he went on to mention the fact that I have a child with an individual, and it is not true.
But what has that got to do with your support for the party?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So some people like that, later on we will have time for them, because stuff like this you would have to come and answer why you said that and what your facts were. How you would say I came from why everybody saw me when I came to Dansuman, everybody saw when I was moving around with no slippers on, and everybody saw when I became who I am today, and now I have the guts to disrespect Ghanaians by supporting somebody that cannot do what the people need for them, basically, kind of, and then saying that I should rather think about my people in my hometown who don't have food to drink, food to eat and water, and then who, all of that. Okay, so if you want me to think about those people, how am I going to get to do anything if I don't step up to the table and be part of those who change the narrative, those who work actually to run the system? So then if I am if I have ambitions to be a politician, to be able to represent one of the poorest and farthest ends of the country, and you're saying I should think about them, aren't you contradicting yourself? What are you saying? How am I going to ever get any close to the political conversation if I don't belong, or if I'm not brave enough to be able to show where I stand and for why I do that? So if you're going to attack my decision and why I did that, and you're going to move away from that into my personal life and then talk about things about me that aren't authentic and true, I think that one nice day, maybe I'll have an interview on that platform of his, because he interviews guests and stuff, so that he would ask me these questions personally, and then we'll see how we can address them, because I think that he sounds like a discerning person who should know better, instead of throwing stuff in the air just like that.
Mr. Logic's song?
Yes.
And then you were telling him about the song?
That's what I felt about it when I heard on radio. The song, the delivery, the vibe, the lyrics, how current it is, how commercial it is, tells you he's been writing for these kids. So sometimes we hear songs and we don't even know who's behind it. But the thing I hear, really, like if you know you sing them, when you give to any of these boys. My guy was telling me it meets vibrant, and he knows say vibrant no did that, why you decide to sing them yourself.
Like vibrant go kill them.
If any of these kids got this track, where we don't know say you day behind now, the track I hear this morning. Charlie, guys, make you guys check out Mr. Logic in new track. Track near Wicked. Wicked as says, bring an variant, you know. What they share the band waster. What can the band waster?
Endorsement from the north.
The mood of the track, the vibes for the track there.
Sure.
No, it be serious.
That's it.
It be serious. What shut up or percent or hate.
Yeah. I think Pee is
because you know some people they feel take the thing like joke. Now the day people they are top and things. Oh, Mr. Logic say he make serious. So he won't show them say Charlie. Sometimes if you say you want to sit down, put pen and paper and share at the end of pumping, a bit more share to Musu. I don't know how yeah, share to Musu. Yeah, I feel we hate an out here. Which me cool it down. Yeah, koda. Go yes, I will casa ubi. Yeah.